Guys, welcome back to Nosto's Strength and Conditioning, the home of the Nosto's SNC podcast. First off, I want to thank everyone for their support and their response to the last podcast. It was amazing, and it's exactly what I wanted, and hoping that moving forward we just see more of that and it spreads to more people and helps, just like I think today's will. As today we have our very first guest, which I'm very excited about. It's the exact person I wanted to be on this podcast. When from the first moment I had the idea to have a podcast and I thought about having people on, this guy was number one on my list to have on, and that is the man sitting next to me. That is Mr. Philip Goncalves. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
You're very welcome.
Excited to be here and honoured.
Honoured. I love it. So Phil is a very good friend of mine. I feel like we go back, I'm going to say about 12 years.
Easily, yeah.
I don't want to say how old we are. I'm just trying to think.
I'm 13.
That's an old-looking 13-year-old. But say 12 years. I started training around... I'm going to say I started training around 10 years ago. So if we say 12 years, I've got to be training longer, or we've known each other longer. How long have you been training for?
Other than in my bedroom when I was 13, I'd say seriously from about 17. So I'm 30 now, nearly 31. So
Big 3-0.
13, 14 years.
Okay, so 10, 11. I reckon we've probably known each other 12 to 14 years, let's say. And I say that because I started training when I was at college with your brother, Dominic. And I'd come over to your house where your gym would be set up in your garage, where you worked from for how many years?
6, 7 years, easily.
6, 7 years out of your parents' house in the gym, in the garage. You set that up, and I used to go around there with your brother and mess about with weights, not knowing what I was doing, not lifting too much. And I guess we progressed through, and I guess we shared similar interests with the gym and our training, and for me, certainly, you was a heavy influence on where I went with my career. I started eventually in my sister's garage, training clients. That was my starting point, and you very much laid the blueprint for that. So since then, now I'm here in Nosto Strength and Conditioning, and you are running Force of Fuel. Could you tell us a little bit about Force of Fuel and what you do there?
So Force Fuel's our studio, which I co-own with Jamie Ferrugia, my business partner. We own a supplement company together, which he and I co-own, whereas the gym is my side of things, based in Egham.
Based in Egham. And I know you PT out there because you PT me, and it's painful every single week, and I very much enjoy that. It's exactly what I go for.
Fun pain, right?
Fun pain, as we say. So that's just a little bit about you and me. So let's get down to some questions. From last week, I had a question on my podcast, which was, can you still tone up and lose weight while still enjoying a beer? Now, I wouldn't say I stumbled, but I thought the muscle tone was, it rang a bell in my head. Me and you have so many conversations every single week and have done for years. And I know it's something that you can articulate quite well. I went to do it, but I felt like I was going to go off at a tangent. I do know your views on it. I feel like it'd be interesting for everyone else to hear your views on it. I feel like I answered the second part very well. I went into detail about calorie deficits. So if I just said to you, kind of sum up muscle tone, because we probably get a lot as a PT. Oh, I'd like to tone up. Yeah, I'm just looking to tone, lose some weight and tone. What does that mean to you, muscle tone?
Well, to me, when someone comes and asks me to help them tone up, I understand exactly the look they're going for, and I understand the process they need to follow. Whereas someone asking for that goal may not understand the process they need to follow.
Okay.
Generally for me, muscle tone is building a decent physique, so building some muscle and then stripping back the fat to reveal the muscle you've got underneath. But most of the time you're not going to be able to do both at the same time. Beginners isn't accepting to that, and people who might use certain supplements, shall we say.
A little bit of help.
Of course.
Okay. I must say, I have heard you say and state in the past, muscle tone doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still stand by that, or can you just explain maybe what you meant by that, or do you feel differently about that now, or just elaborate on that for me?
I understand what people say when they think that. I think the way it's presented probably in the media is incorrect.
Okay.
For example, you might see the front of a men's magazine or a women's health magazine saying use this workout to tone up, and that may help you tone up. But what we're really saying to tone up is to reveal your muscle under the body fat. So majority of that's going to come from your dietary habits over a consistently long period of time. It's not a case of doing one workout that's going to help you tone.
Sure.
I'd personally, if people say to me, in the gym, when you're going on and lifting weights, you're looking to either build or preserve the muscle you've got in a dieting phase or a building phase. You're not really going in there to tone up. I wouldn't try and use a weight session to shed calories.
Okay. It's a fair shout. And I mean, I would definitely trust what you say. I mean, again, for those who don't know, let's say probably would have been 2 years ago now, I really committed and delved into the dietary side of things. I studied at university, and I've always trained, and I've been in and out of gyms, and those questions have always come up, and people talk about how important diet is or how important it isn't. And I've certainly learned the importance of it over the last 2 or 3 years, more so than in the past 5 or 6 years. And that was heavily down to you and your knowledge in terms of calories. And I suppose, is that how big a part of, let's say, your business, in the sense of, I know you're in the supplements game, you also PT, so you have face-to-face clients. How often would you say the diet conversation comes up, the calorie conversation comes up, or in simple terms, if you train 10 people, how many of them people would you say, based on your experience, are asking you for a diet plan?
I'd say 10 out of for people that I have come to see me,
Okay.
10 out of 10 are asking for diet plans, because I always say to them, you're not going to get the results you want if you're doing what you've done for the last 10 years, having Cocoa Pots for breakfast, because it's not working for you.
Okay.
And when you might say, recommend them to have some eggs, for example, for breakfast, they might get bored of it in 5 days, yet they've not got bored of Cocoa Pots for 15 years.
It's a good shout. It's a good shout. I agree. I've definitely heard similar myself. Staying on the dietary line right here, there's been a lot of buzz, let's say, over the last 2 or 3 months. I know I spoke to you about it personally behind closed doors, and now we're here. And I had a question about it last week on my podcast, which I was excited to talk to you about, because I consider your knowledge to be pretty vast, especially compared to mine on nutrition. I'm very open about that. I almost don't do anything nutritionally based without running it by you. And the question was, what are your thoughts and views on a plant-based diet? And the real question was, what was your thoughts on the Game Changers, the program that went out on Netflix? Now, I gave my opinions on these two things. What's your opinion on a plant-based diet? We'll start there.
My opinion on a plant-based diet is that, as a personal trainer, if you haven't been guiding your clients towards a plant-based diet for 10 years, how long have you been in the industry for, you've probably been failing your clients. And that's, when I say plant-based, that should be the foundation of diet, and then you can sprinkle in the meat in there.
Okay. The
should you wish. Yeah. And it's going to
sources.
come down to personal preferences. Some people may do it for environmental reasons, some for ethical reasons, some for the perceived health benefits.
Okay.
And there's different ways of looking at each aspect of that, I believe.
That's fair. Let's get this one out of the way. You personally, how is your diet made up, in the sense, are you 100% plant-based? Are you 100% carnivorous? Are you eating animal products, meat? Is it a combination?
I'd describe my diet as balanced, which
Okay.
I think everyone should be aiming towards that.
Fair.
I eat, to be honest, in the last 6 months or so, I've probably not eaten as much meat as before, and that's purely down to my wife not really liking steak that much, so it tends to be fish for us most nights.
Happy wife, happy
Yeah,
life.
exactly.
Okay. Let's maybe people might be wondering, let's just real quick, if you could just run through what you would eat in a day. Let's maybe state how often you train, how much you weigh, and then if you just run through your meals real quick, just in case people are wondering that.
Okay, so I train 4 to 5 times a week with weights.
Okay.
I generally hit around 10,000 step marks. I'm fairly active for the day compared to the average person. I get up and train fasted, and that's not for any fat loss benefit. That's because I train early and I don't really want to shove a meal down my throat at 2 o'clock in the morning. So upon finishing training, actually while I train, I'll have a intra-workout carb source. I find it keeps my energy levels a little bit higher when I am depleted, shall we say. On from that, then I'll have a protein shake after I work out, oats and a banana. From there, depending on how busy my morning is, I may have another shake just for the convenience of it to get my protein in. My lunch tends to be tuna, avocado, tomato, rice and boiled eggs, all mixed in a bowl, bit of hot sauce, lemon juice and flavour. Nice. May go something along the lines of protein yoghurt mid-afternoon, and then dinner will be fish, veg and maybe potato or rice.
Okay, I'd definitely agree. Very balanced, very wide variety of things. So let's now move into the game changes as a program, because this has been discussed. I hear it discussed during my classes. I hear it discussed around the office space. I could probably say I know maybe 5, maybe even 10 people who have told me in the last 3 months they're vegan. They're vegan now. They're trying vegan. They've gone vegan. They're going vegan. And, you know, that's each to their own. I kind of know before they're even going to elaborate the reason behind it. I think the program definitely has a lot to do with it. So your thoughts on the game changes as a program?
I enjoyed the program. I just thought the message, if you're getting your nutrition advice from an entertainment platform, which Netflix is, I think you probably need to look a bit deeper into going to an actual expert and look a bit deeper into all the studies that they've flashed across the screen really quickly, because a lot of them, like anything, they're biased and they're cherry picked. It would be the same if someone did a carnivore diet, a documentary on that. They would pick the research or the evidence to support their view. And veganism or plant-based, whatever you want to call it, it is an emotional attachment to that way of life. But I think we need to get away from people saying they're vegan, because they're not. They're probably wearing leather shoes, leather wallets. I think vegans, they have more of an ethical attachment to being a vegan, whereas people who are plant-based may be looking at game change and think, oh, maybe my performance will improve, or I might lose fat, or I might be healthier. Whereas true vegans really do care about animals, the environment, and the effects that their diet might have on it, and that being their clothing they wear, the travel they're taking.
Sure. So veganism, you would say, I mean, the program certainly focuses on
I don't believe, in game show, I don't believe they ever say the word vegan. I think it is always, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's always plant-based they mention.
Okay.
And they do try and stay away from that way of life, if you like.
Fair. Okay, so it's fair to say there's potentially people walking around out there calling themselves vegans.
Yeah.
That are actually just eating plant-based, not living a vegan lifestyle.
Exactly.
And you're saying it's very much a lifestyle more so than a dietary
that's
choice.
That's my personal view.
Fair. Okay. And I know what I would say. Let me put this one to you, because again, I get this a lot, and again, we've definitely discussed this. I said there's 5-10 people potentially who have tried vegan. They're going vegan. They're currently vegan. They therefore have been for a month, 2 months maybe, and you know, it's the best thing they've ever done. They feel amazing. It's life changing. It's the best there is. I've got more energy. I'm happier. I've lost some weight. What do you say to that? And what I mean by that is, I'd like to give everyone a little bit of clarity on the other side of that, and a little bit of explanation from what I consider you as someone in the know and with some understanding and some experience. What would cause those changes, as well as the changes that they've made, in the sense that, so now I've taken all meat out of my diet, which we don't know where it's coming from. They could have just dropped out McDonald's every night, for example, and now they've gone plant-based, and all of a sudden they feel better. Elaborate on that a little bit. What you think of that when someone says plant-based is the way to go, Phil? I feel amazing and it's the best thing ever. Okay.
Potentially you started with a placebo, so you may have talked yourself into thinking something's better. Other than that though, if you're eating more high quality nutrients, you're going to feel better. But there's nothing to say that you can't add high quality nutrients to your diet that already has meat in it, or fish, or whatever you want to go down. Increasing your nutrient intake is always going to make you feel better.
Sure. And that's what I thought, and that's what I do try and explain one-to-one to people. Like I say, we can't say where their diet was. Chances are it was not the best, especially if they was so willing to make that change.
Yeah.
Because you just detailed your diet, and I'm pretty sure you'd agree you're pretty happy with it. You don't see that changing drastically in the short term, at least. It works for you day to day. The expense of it, the preparation of it, it fits into your day. You feel pretty healthy. You are healthy, and it works. Okay, that's a fair shout. So, being a personal trainer, the same as me, we talk to many people daily and have done for years. And there are many things that we hear which we personally laugh about together, or it surprises us we still hear this, and we are sometimes surprised, like how is this message still out there? How is it still circulating? So I just wanted to say a couple of those and just get a couple of sentences from you about your thoughts towards those, and just elaborate on it and be as honest as you can be. Let's not protect any feelings here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say something that I might have heard from a client, not naming no names, or things I know that are said around in conversations that I hear that I might know to be, in my opinion, pretty ridiculous and potentially, based on science, ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So, fat weighs more than muscle.
Okay.
Elaborate. Does it?
No, a kilo's a kilo. So
1 kilo of muscle is 1 kilo of muscle.
Yeah,
1 kilo
they
of fat
take up
is 1 kilo
they take up a different amount of space in the body.
Okay.
So one is more dense than the other, but a kilo is still a kilo.
Okay, there you go. Fat does not weigh more than muscle. Muscle does not weigh more than fat. Yes, I'm a bit fat at the moment, but I'm going to start training and turn it to muscle. Can you turn fat to muscle?
Unless you're Jesus, no.
Unless you're Jesus, you heard it there. Elaborate a little bit more.
So they're two totally different tissues.
Okay.
It's like saying you're going to turn a bone into a ligament. Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Or water to wine.
Or water to wine.
Cool. Okay. Eating late at night causes you to gain weight.
No, the only thing I'd say with eating late is that it may disrupt your sleep because you're still digesting food. If your calories are matched, meal timing is largely irrelevant for the general public.
I would say, let's say even for example, like I know how early you start your day, like 3-4 in the morning. You know, you're definitely going to have a different timing of meal than someone who's starting their day at 9.
Yeah.
And that's definitely where I lead people when I hear that, because me personally, I sometimes finish late, 9-10 o'clock at night, then I'm having my dinner, and people blows their mind. And it's like, you know, we each have how many hours a day we have. And like we talked about, like you said, the meal timing is largely irrelevant, but essentially eating late does not cause you to gain.
No, if you're
weight.
intaking 2,500 calories and you're burning 2,500 calories, that calories that you have after 6 p.m. isn't going to change your body composition.
Your body doesn't know what time it is.
No, it's fuel. It's fuel in, it's fuel out.
Okay. Eating more often increases your metabolism.
Again, it's kind of matched to the answer we just given. 2,500 calories is 2,500 calories. So you've got a thermic effect of food, which is basically how much fuel you need to break down that food. If your macronutrients and calories are matched, having 6 meals, 3 meals, if they're the same amount of calories, it's going to be irrelevant again.
Sure, great. The more you sweat, the more you burn.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Simple as that. I mean, when we say actually in terms of sweat, so I say this to a lot of people actually. I'll train them, and we could be going over technique of a deadlift, for example, technique of a squat, and you're using muscles, you're using energy, but you may not sweat in that session. That certainly is not an indicator of how hard the session was. That's certainly not an indicator of calories burnt.
No.
For
Hydration
example.
levels. There's so many factors that come into sweat. So it'd be silly to assess your level of effort put into a workout based on your sweat.
Sure.
And you probably know, without being sexist, the men be dripping all over the floor and women will look like they've just walked in sometimes.
Sure. And I mean, sweat's actual function. Let's just name that.
Okay, just to cool your body down.
So absolutely nothing to do with calories burnt, muscle gained, anything to do with that. Cool. And then just lastly, I would say you do co-run and co-own Forca Fuel. That is a supplements company. I get a lot of questions within the gym. The most common would be, I've just joined the gym. Do I need a supplement? Do I need a protein shake? It's probably the most common I hear. What protein shake should I use? These sorts of things. So I'm not going to ask you to make suggestions because that would be too hard to do for every single person in the world. But let's maybe focus on mine personally. So I use, it used to be the Forca Fuel pre-game. It's now F-Bomb.
Yep.
So that's a pre-workout. That majorly works for me. So who would you say you would aim a pre-workout towards? What's the target audience? Who would need it and who would not need it, for example?
I mean, the best pre-workout you can have is a full night of sleep.
Nice.
But unfortunately in our lives now, we don't always get that. And sometimes that pre-workout might do for someone. I would advise you not to take it after. If you train in the evening, don't go near it because you're not going to sleep after that. If you train in the morning, need a bit of a kick, need to increase your alertness, focus, then a high caffeine supplement like F-Bomb is going to work. Not only that, but two of the other ingredients in there will both increase your endurance and your strength power output.
Brilliant. And I think you mentioned the intra.
Yeah, I like that, and I find it works. Some people might not agree with this, but I find it works well in a dieting phase.
Okay.
And it would kind of fly against what I'd normally say, as in not consuming your calories in a liquid form. But I think when you really want to push your workouts while you're in a diet phase, that can help, just having that extra bit of carbs in there. But for most people, I see, particularly women, then they're not getting enough protein in, and they can't even think about having so much meat or eggs. And now, especially as we move towards a plant-based lifestyle for a lot of people, getting your additional protein requirements for a shake may be a good option for some, but I'd always opt for food over a supplement. And I know you say I can't really say to everyone, oh, this is what you should take. The best way to find out what you should be taking, if you should be taking anything, is getting your blood work done and finding out what you're deficient in. And for most people, the top two deficiencies, vitamin D, especially in this country, and magnesium. So they're kind of a safe one to go with, but I'd always advise getting a blood check first.
Sure. And Forca Fuel stock both of those vitamins?
We do.
Of course, expected. Nice. I think just to close out on the protein, it's not necessarily an argument, but on the subject, the way I would usually go is explain to someone, if you can get your protein intake will be based upon your physical output and your goals. And if you can get your protein target every single day from food, then amazing. You don't need a protein supplement. You don't need a protein shake. If you struggle to get the food in, if you struggle to prepare the food, can't afford the food, and you're 30, 40 grams of protein short at the end of the day, you would qualify as, so to speak, as someone who would benefit from having a protein supplement, a protein shake.
100% agree.
The whole milk and water debate. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I have mine with milk, I have mine with water, I don't like. What would you suggest? It's hard to say, because, and again, I feel like I know what you're about to say, guys at home. So let's say someone who's relatively new to the gym, they've gone over the diet, they can't meet their protein target, so they need a protein supplement. Phil, do I need to take it with water or milk? What would you say?
I would say it depends on where your calories are for that day. If the milk's going to take you over your calorie goal, then I'd opt for water, or go to something like unsweetened almond milk, which gives you best of both worlds, really, with less calories.
Sure. So again, based on calories, and that again, quite a good point to finish on, I'd say, because there's so many people on let's say diets and diet plans. And the question I asked you a lot, I used to annoy the hell out of you. I know I did initially. Can I have that? Is that okay? That looks a little bit much. You sure about that? And the simple answer is, if it fits within your calorie amount, yes, you can.
Yep.
As long as you hit your protein target, that's the goal, and that should push you towards the goal that you've started this diet plan for.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, I think that just about wraps up all the things we wanted to talk about. Is there anything you wanted to add before we close out?
I'd just like to say thank you for having me on today. It's been a pleasure.
Good having
New
you on.
experience. I'm sure we'll do a second one where we're both a little less rusty is the wrong word, but fresh, should we say? Green.
For us, but I'm sure we could do one on sleep one day.
Yeah.
I know how. If you follow Phil, there's a lot about sleep, and I've actually said to a few people, I feel like the next big boom in this industry, once the plant-based thing dies down, I think will and should be sleep.
It's funny you said that. It's about to be. I can't remember if it's in Parliament or something. They're bringing a new sleep bill or whatever it's called for, I think, today or tomorrow.
I know,
it's
like I
supposed to be
say,
2020 is supposed to be the year of sleep.
I could see that coming, because you're never too wrong about too many things. So the amount of work I've seen you do surrounding sleep and your knowledge of it already, I feel like, and like I say, the results and the research suggesting performance and weight loss and all of these things, I can only see that absolutely booming very, very soon.
Well, there's a good book if anyone's interested in sleep called Why We Sleep. I think the author's name is Matthew Walker.
Okay.
But it goes quite in depth. It's very, very interesting.
Eye-opening. All right, so check that out. So if you want to follow Phil on Instagram, it is at
Philip J. Goncalves on Instagram.
And if you want to follow Force of Fuel, that is
at Force of Fuel.
All right, straight up. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Phil for coming on. It's been a pleasure, as he said. Thanks just personally for everything you do to help me, everything you've done to help me. I wouldn't be here without you, so thank you for that. Like, comment, and share on this, guys. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know if you want to be involved. Keep an eye out for the next guest, and I'll catch you down the road.